right now.
Kila mtu ambaye umepatiwa kazi na Uhuru Kenyatta, wacha kupiga kifua.
Sisi hatupendangi mambo ya upuzi kubebana hivi.
Wewe Matiang'i, siku mbili umekula, tunajua yale ulifanya Ruaraka, sasa umeanza kututapikia maneno ati utaki upuzi.
It will be a lie for me to leave this stage without saying that this program has been schooled.
Wale tuliwashinda ati ndio wanapewa nafasi waongee, kazi yetu ni kupiga makofi.
Kama deputy akusimama na Uhuru, atungekuwa hapa sasa.
Wananchi mashinani wanasema William Ruto ni rafiki yetu. Siku yako ikifika, we shall pay you back in kind.
Watu wafanyie wananchi kazi. Period.
Right, welcome Martha Karua, former Justice Affairs Minister, leader of a political party, and obviously a lawyer in this country, an advocate with many years of experience, and a politician, and also James Orengo, who is a senator, Siaya County, many years of experience in law, and also former government minister. So they are the best to make this discussion, because from where I sit, the two of you have the interests of this country at heart. Now let's begin with the current debate, parliamentary process or referendum. That's where the country is, and this is causing divided opinion, but obviously this is where the politicians want to steer. So let me begin with the lady, Martha. This is the discussion, parliamentary process or a referendum, popular initiative. But are we getting lost? Are we getting ahead of ourselves already?
I actually refuse to be limited to that discussion.
Okay.
The discussion I want to get involved in is constitutional amendment necessary at this time, and within our context. That ought to be the debate. You can't start burdening the people with which process, one process or the other, without the people even getting engaged and actually accepting that we need a referendum, and then we start choosing whether it's a parliamentary, we need a constitutional amendment, it's a parliamentary process, or it's a
popular initiative.
Popular initiative.
Okay.
I want to look at the BBI report
and
say that much of it has nothing to do with the need for constitutional amendment. It has much to do with constitutionalism and the rule of law.
Okay, but
our behavior.
Okay.
So I don't want to be boxed into that
how it's going to be done.
Yes.
But perhaps this is an acceptance that it's a reality. We are going to have this, whichever way. So let's
discuss.
It's not
a reality.
It's not a reality.
No.
Let me go to Senior James Orengo. Same thing, parliamentary or popular initiative. That is the debate characterizing this country currently.
Now, those two processes are pathways to amending the Constitution. If you follow a popular initiative, which entails a referendum, it doesn't really matter what is the content or the subject matter, because any member of the public can initiate a popular initiative to amend the Constitution. That is a right given to every Kenyan or any group of Kenyans. So either even if you are amending the Constitution in matters that does not involve a referendum process, then you have to go by a popular initiative. And willy-nilly, once you go through the popular initiative, it will entail a referendum. Now, if you go through the parliamentary process and the amendments, the same amendments that are particularized in Article 255, sub-Article 1, which means it's touching on issues like the Bill of Rights, then whether it is a parliamentary initiative, it has to go to a referendum. Now, one of the reasons why I think it must go to a referendum is because if you look at the report, these are going to be substantial amendments, and you need to involve the people of Kenya.
Okay.
Because, the Constitution of Kenya, Article number 1, says the people are sovereign, and all power that is vested in various institutions is delegated authority.
Okay.
So it is about time that we involve Kenyans in making a critical decision like the one we are just about to make.
Okay, but do you think something Martha says, that we're being boxed into a corner, and instead of politicians allowing us to focus on the substance, which is the BBI report and its content, they're boxing us to start thinking how do we do it? Don't you think she has a point?
She has a point, but if you look at the content already, like I was going through the what is contained in the BBI report, there are a lot of issues to do with ethos. Now, the issues of ethos are issues that revolve around the foundational principles, which are found in the preamble and Article 10. Now, the ethos, as proclaimed by the report, goes a little bit beyond what is contained in Article 10 on the national values and principles of governance. They're not just about the rule of law. They're not just about democracy and the Bill of Rights. They go a little bit beyond what is contained in Article 10. Okay. And I may go further if I had to enumerate what are the suggestions in the BBI report that touch on issues that by dint of the Constitution, Article 255, sub-Article 1, they must be subjected.
So in other words, you're telling us that we cannot ignore this debate at this point on how it's going to be done.
Yes.
But are we going to turn the debate on its head?
Okay.
We are not giving Kenyans any chance to know what is being proposed, whether it is necessary or not, whether it's something already provided for. From where I sit, anything to do with ethos, Article 10, Chapter 6, the Article 232 on public principles of public leadership, the article on financial management. If you look at the Constitution in a holistic manner, what we lack in national ethos is a culture of implementing and following things we have agreed upon. Okay. So I'm saying, yes, BBI has raised issues. Can we discuss them and see whether they are already covered by the 2010 Constitution, whether there are issues a proper implementation would take care of? And those are not just the issues. They are issues of historical injustices. We have the TJRC, we have the Dongo Land Report, we have the Waki and the Kriegler Commission. Some of the things touched by all those reports. We have Agenda 4, which James and I were party to making in the National Accord. If you look at the issues in Agenda 4, and then you look at what is being proposed by the BBI, there were issues we had even given timelines, but were never implemented. So why don't we soberly sit down and discuss this and have a conversation that is not dominated just by the political class?
Okay.
A conversation that is people-driven, and when I talk of people-driven, I'm talking of a forum where both those elected, those holding the mantle, and those outside share the forum, more or less what we did before.
If I hear you rightly, Wakili, to you it was even unnecessary to have this process of getting the BBI report, because you think our problem does not lie in the documents that we have. Our problem is in the implementation.
So, yeah, but to the extent that they have analyzed what the problem is, I will not dismiss them outright.
Okay.
And say this is unnecessary. But I will say that I have doubts as to whether we actually need constitutional amendments at this time. And looking at the way the country is polarized already, we have a scenario almost looking like the 2005, after the failed referendum. The country is poisoned. People's minds are poisoned, and people are not analyzing things correctly. It's about who supports who.
Okay.
Do we really?
But I think part of the reason is that the politicians want to play the major role. That is part of the problem.
Yes.
Now, if we take it to the people, that means that we are de-emphasizing the role of the politicians, because the politicians are concerned about the end game. The people are not necessarily concerned about the end game in terms of political power. Where I want to agree with you that, in fact, if you look at the Constitution thoroughly from the preamble and they have talked about the Article 10 on values, the chapter on devolution, again, there's a slate of values. You look at the chapter on public finance and public, service. There are a range of values and principles that can formulate what we are calling ethos. But they are so scattered. And they are so scattered that we need to cohere and put them together. Because even in our history, if you go back to the time of people like Boyer, the social paper number 10 on African socialism, you would find that there were some principles which were set out there, which historically, if we can create a nexus about the thinking now and the thinking that existed at the time when the blueprint on African socialism came about, and then you go towards the period when you had so many task forces, some of them ended up in the THRC. This is an opportunity to contextualize all these processes and even constitutionalize some of them. Because I believe that there's need to have that discussion, and that discussion must take place amongst the people. The other thing that is coming out in the BBI, actually, which I have a little problem with, is on the issue of responsibility and rights. They are trying to turn it around a little bit that, responsibilities should precede rights. Whereas, the current constitution, the emphasis is on rights and then follow responsibilities. In that document, there's a lot of emphasis on the African Charter on human rights, human and people's rights, which lays emphasis on responsibility. But I think it is important that we have a conversation in which all this is brought together.
And what you're saying essentially still takes us to the fact that even touching on the Bill of Rights would still need a referendum. So basically, you are saying this has to happen. It has to go back to the people.
I think that
is Martha burying her hand in the sand? She's just refused. It's not necessary right now.
I think it's the only pathway. Even the structure of the executive, we're essentially running away from what the people had decided in 2010, where the president was seen as head of government, head of state, and protector of rights. If you read the part of the responsibilities of the president, a protection of human rights is one of the responsibilities. Now, when you're creating the office of a prime minister, you are reallocating some of those powers. And I don't think that should fall in the realm of 400 people sitting.
I really need to discuss that further, because I don't see how the appointment of a prime minister is going to take some powers from the presidency. What I see is still a presidency that is strengthened, a president that retains all the powers. I want to discuss that further, but let me hear from Martha.
But before you even go there,
yes,
James is saying that the BBI is emphasizing on the African Charter on human and people's rights. Look at our constitution. Article 2, it clearly says that all the international covenants which we have ratified are part of laws of Kenya. So by dint of the Constitution, the African Charter on the human and people's rights is already part of our laws. We do not need to open the Constitution because of that.
But if there's inconsistency between that charter and our constitution, our constitution prevails.
But there isn't, as far as I know, someone will have to point out to me what inconsistency there is between the charter and the constitution, so that we are not just saying that if. We are saying there is, and there's need for amendment. And now I have this to say. The president, yes, is the protector of rights. The government is the protector of rights. The Constitution also gives each one of us as individuals in Article 3 the responsibility to uphold and defend. What we have failed collectively as Kenya and the government, the three institutions of government, executive, parliament, and the judiciary, is to uphold and protect the Constitution to the fullest. We have failed in implementation, and as citizens, we have also failed in our duty to push consistently. for implementation. We need this conversation from where he sits, not so that we amend, so that we realize the problem is not in the document, it's in us.
It's with us.
This constitution does not make the president imperial, but the president has exercised powers beyond what is allocated. But it is because we are not challenging. Where you challenge, you are able to get the results. If you remember when we passed the 2010 constitution, President Kibaki even tried to appoint a chief justice. People went to court. He had to go back to the right procedure. Several things like that. And they realized you cannot just do things the old way. But now we are suffering fatigue. Except for a few people, we are not testing the systems as much as we should.
Okay. As you comment, we need to take a short break, but this is water under the bridge. What Martha is saying is good. It's the ideal, but it's water under the bridge because we have a document that
How is
somehow,
it water under the bridge? We have
because we already have the BBI
the
report
conversation will be about not amending.
Not
and about changing our. I agree.
We already have it.
I agree.
Have it.
Yeah, but the document is not a proposal. It recommends that we have a national conversation. Yes, let's have a national conversation, but do not come with a conclusion that we, the citizens, have agreed we amend. Let's talk about it.
All right.
What we are saying, the BBI report is not a final document.
Yes.
It's an advisory.
Yeah.
It's not even a blueprint.
Yeah.
Is not what you can say it has a game plan in it.
Yeah.
It is a raft of suggestions, which I think should go to the people. When the people are having a conversation with the BBI committee, they were talking to them, telling them what the problem is in the country.
And I did.
And you
for
did.
NAC
And you
Kenya.
did.
Yes.
And now they have given a report back that this is what we received from citizens.
Yeah.
And what you're going to do with it is really your responsibility. I think the BBI is not saying
I agree with you there.
This is the way you must do it.
That's why I'm protesting us starting with what type of process for amending the constitution. So we've already concluded. We are not giving the people a chance of discussing.